Okay, so let me introduce our next speaker, Dušan Mramor, former finance minister of Slovenia and professor at the Faculty of Economics at the University of Ljubljana.
Thank you very much for inviting me. My Serbo-Croatian is rather poor now because I'm not practicing it as much as I did in the past. So I apologize, I will speak in universal language. So when I was thinking about the title of this panel and how can I contribute to it from the Montenegrin point of view, I said I don't know enough about Montenegro to give the lessons, but I will try to present what we did in Slovenia, where I was involved, and what were the results and what was actually the outcome for my thinking about development of financial system. In general, development of financial system is really complex. The more I studied it, the more I was involved in it through different functions in the government or as a researcher, the more I found out that it is really difficult to frame it in such a way that it really supports growth. So first assignment I got was in 2001 by finance minister to prepare a strategy of financial system development. And financial system, we mean financial institutions, financial markets, and financial assets. And we were working on it in a big group involving all sorts of people and came up with conclusions that the major problem in our financial system is lack of long-term sources of financing, credit financing and equity financing, because banks were too small to be able to change or convert maturity. Insurance companies, life insurance was very small. Pension funds, second and third pillar, negligible. Capital market, too small to fulfill the needs for capital. So immediately after that, they appointed me as a finance minister. And what I did in the period of 2002-2004, we changed the structure of ownership of banks so that quite a lot of banks became also foreign-owned as foreign subsidiaries, and in this way enable part of this financial system to be able to give long-term credits. Insurance companies, we changed tax treatment of insurance of maturity over 10 years, no taxation, no taxes paid on that. Pension funds, second and third pillar for public employees was introduced so that instead of wage increase, I was able to negotiate with labor unions that money went into the second pillar for public employees, but then there was a good deal also for third pillar. Then in the period before I became the dean, I had a huge research for 2 years actually on the potentials of development of financial systems of all countries, of 8 countries that entered European Union in 2004, of CIS, that's former Soviet Union countries, and SEE, South and Eastern European countries. And for each country, we developed models and we tried to project what will happen with each of the segments of financial system. And then with qualitative analysis, we tried to come up with also with risks of that this will mature, actually happen. We had problems with Montenegro. This is where we studied also Montenegro, but in 2007 there was practically we couldn't get data separate for Montenegro because it was Serbia and Montenegro together. So we just got for certain parts of financial system, and when we looked at the position of Montenegro with this model, how it will progress in financial system, you were in many areas on the top. But what I learned from this research and from the previous experiences is first, without comprehensive country strategy, you cannot actually design financial system in such a way that it will support growth optimally. First, you need strategy to know what you're supporting. And second, what you have to do is also to see exactly where market failures are in the system, because financial system through the market will cover just certain needs of businesses, but certain needs will not be covered, like small companies concerning credits, but also capital. And even in such small countries, capital for big companies is difficult to obtain through capital market, which is inactive. So what I did in the second time I became finance minister, this was 2014-16, we launched strategy development first. So first develop actually the idea, where are we going, what are we supporting, and if we are supporting, is this, there's a need for government support, or just restructuring of the market can supply the needed services. So we found out that in the areas where we would really like to go, and this is small and mid-sized businesses, high-tech businesses, that we have a real market failure. So we went and designed actually these government institutions like Development Bank, SID in Slovenia, and some funds which for political reasons were emerging, and I was very unhappy with it because we wanted to concentrate government funding for this support. So in this respect, we actually supported the development of these small and mid-sized companies with financing through this development bank, and the percentage of GDP that was actually due to these small, mid-sized, high-tech companies just increased to 49% of GDP, which was quite remarkable. So it's also a dynamic process, and there's a dynamic clock which says that I have to finish. It's a dynamic process, and these market failures are moving. In the crisis, let's say, market failures were everywhere. It was really difficult to get financing, and this development bank did a good job during that period. So once again, the point is you have to know where are you going, and you have to know where the market will supply services and where it will not, and you have to intervene with the government funding. Thank you very much.